Good afternoon, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. Kwe. My name is Shannon Miedema, and I'm the Member of Parliament for Halifax. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered here in Chibuktuk on the traditional and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and that we're all treaty people. It's a very big pleasure to be here today with the Honourable Sean Fraser, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, along with HRM City Councillor Jean St-Amand, Paul MacKinnon, Chair of the International Downtown Association for Canada, Marco D'Angelo, President and CEO of the Canadian Urban Transit Association, or CUTA, as well as my colleague MP Braedon Clark. Depuis l'investiture de notre gouvernement, nous nous sommes concentrés sur la création de communautés sûres et sur la garantie d'un système judiciaire juste et efficace. Since our government was sworn in over 1 year ago today, we've been focused on creating safe communities and ensuring that our justice system is fair and, importantly, effective. Our efforts rest on 3 pillars: strengthening Canada's criminal laws, supporting our frontline law enforcement, and investing in long-term crime prevention measures. This has been a concern that I've been hearing from residents and business owners, and my colleagues have as well, and I'm really proud that our government has made this a priority. Thank you very much, Minister Fraser, to you and your team for spearheading these important initiatives. Based on your work, our government has delivered on one of the most ambitious criminal justice reform agendas in recent memory in this country. Merci, Ministre Fraser, et à ton équipe pour avoir piloté ces initiatives importantes. Grâce à votre travail, notre gouvernement a réalisé l'un des programmes de réforme de la justice les plus ambitieux de mémoire récente. Parliament has now passed 3 major justice bills that will strengthen protections against hate crimes, make bail laws stricter and toughen sentences, better protect victims and survivors, and keep kids safe from predators. Today, we're here to talk about one of them, the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, which received royal assent on June 15th and will soon be coming into force. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes réunis pour parler de la loi sur des mesures de réforme concernant la mise en liberté sous caution et à la détermination de la peine, qui a reçu la sanction royale le 15 juin et entrera bientôt en vigueur. This is a set of reforms that will make bail laws stricter and sentencing laws tougher for repeat and violent offenders that are disrupting businesses and communities across this country. The Act is the result of several months of close collaboration and consultations, maybe more than several months, with provinces and territories, which are responsible for the administration of justice, as well as law enforcement on the ground. Among its measures, the new legislation will help tackle key community safety issues that are top of mind to many Haligonians, like retail theft and violence aimed at transit workers. In Halifax, there's been an increase in shoplifting of 64% between 2023 and 2025. From 2022 to 24, transit operators and passengers were involved in 427 violent incidents. These crimes are serious threats to public safety. Residents are calling for more action to make our streets and our communities safer, and we are answering those calls. Ces crimes sont de graves menaces pour la sécurité publique. Nos résidents exigent que des mesures supplémentaires soient prises pour garantir la sécurité de leurs rues et de leurs quartiers. Nous répondons. Thanks to the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, courts now have more tools in their toolbox to curtail these crimes with measures that strengthen bail and sentencing laws in the criminal code. I know this is exciting news here locally, and I'm really thrilled to have Councillor Jean St-Amand here to speak to the impacts locally. Over to you, Councillor.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. Good afternoon. I'm Councillor John St-Amand. I represent District 16, Bedford Wentworth, and I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of Mayor Andy Fillmore and Halifax Regional Council. I'd like to thank Minister Sean Fraser for coming to Halifax to meet directly with local businesses and hear firsthand about the challenges that they're facing. Retail crime isn't just about stolen merchandise. It affects the people who go to work every day wondering if they'll be threatened or intimidated. It affects small business owners operating on tight margins, and it affects the confidence people have in visiting and supporting our commercial districts. That's why HRM welcomes the passage of Bill C-14, strengthening the response to repeat offenders, organized retail theft, and violence against frontline workers gives police and prosecutors important new tools and sends a clear message that public safety matters. Here in Halifax, we're taking a practical and layered approach. We're increasing visible policing in key commercial areas, using data to target repeat offenders and emerging hotspots, strengthening coordination with prosecutors, and bringing municipal partners together to address disorder before it escalates. We're also investing in alternative responses through initiatives like the CARE program, ensuring that people experiencing a mental health crisis receive the right response while allowing police to focus on public safety and criminal activity. No single measure will solve retail crime, but it takes all levels of government, law enforcement, businesses, and community partners working together. On behalf of Mayor Fillmore and my colleagues on council, I want to thank the Minister for today's discussion and for recognizing that municipalities are essential partners in creating safer and more welcoming communities. We look forward to continuing that work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. To speak more on the details of this bill, I'd now like to welcome the Honourable Sean Fraser, Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of Canada. Over to you.
Thank you. Look, can you hear me okay, or do I need to adjust the mic here? I'll try it. Okay, we'll try this. It's a classic thing Shannon and I need to deal with. Look, it's a pleasure to be here, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. As my colleague indicated, public safety has become a major concern for communities right across the country. From every province, from every city, we're hearing increased concerns about people who simply want to live safely in their community. And we don't think that's too big an ask. People are frustrated in different parts of the country, whether it's car thefts, home invasions, whether it's assaults, whether it's retail crime. We need to take seriously the ability for Canadians to live freely and know that they are going to operate freely safely within their communities. We've decided to move forward with an approach as a federal government that rests on three key pillars. The first is to strengthen Canada's criminal laws, to send a strong signal that violent and criminal behavior won't be tolerated in this country. The second is to ensure that we give tools to those on the front line, to equip those who are tasked with providing safety in our communities with what they need to actually do their job effectively. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, we need to commit ourselves to make the upstream investments to prevent violent crime in the long term, including investments in affordable and supportive housing, including mental health and addictions, and including in programs that target at-risk youth. Nous avons besoin d'avancer une stratégie avec trois piliers pour protéger nos communautés. Premièrement, renforcer les lois criminelles partout notre pays. En même temps, la deuxième chose, soutenir des personnes qui travaillent sur le terrain pour protéger leur communauté aussi. Et finalement, les choses qui est plus important, et faire des investissements pour prévenir les crimes violents dans le long terme. When we take this holistic approach to combating crime, we expect to see the stats improve over time. Throughout the consultation phase, after we came through the last federal election campaign, we heard that Canadians want us to have a focus on violent and repeat offenders in particular, which is what the majority of this important new law is indeed designed to address. But we also heard that there are certain kinds of crimes that can be violent, but sometimes are non-violent, but given the enormous volume, can render communities unsafe or undesirable in many ways. We heard from people who work in downtowns, their frustrations with dealing with people who repeatedly vandalize their business, who sometimes threaten the well-being of the workers. And we heard from business owners repeatedly who are increasingly frustrated when people don't want to come to their downtown business districts because of the culture that has emerged with episodes of crime and often violent crime. We've decided to take action in a number of ways, both in our system of bail in this country, but also when it comes to implementing tougher sentences. When it comes to bail, we've specifically determined to tackle violent and repeat offenses, but also we are directing courts to consider not only the seriousness of an offense with which a person is charged, but also the number of convictions that they've had previously or the number of charges that they may be facing when determining whether it would be safe to release a person into the public. At the same time, we know that when a conviction comes, there have to be serious consequences when people run afoul of Canada's criminal laws. That's why we've designed new aggravating factors to insist that the court deliver harder sentences when people commit crimes that don't just impact the individual victim, but cause consequences that are negative for the community as a whole. These aggravating factors include crimes that are committed against first responders and transit workers. They include crimes that are of an organized retail variety, where people are seeking to profit from the things that they may steal from downtown businesses, for example. They also include crimes that are committed against our essential infrastructure. When you actually start to talk to the people who work in these systems, you come to appreciate the consequences that they face and that the communities face more broadly. When you actually talk to transit workers who've been through a violent episode, of course, they may be taken off the job for a period of time. But when you talk to those who operate the system or who rely upon it, they can tell you their frustrations when they don't feel safe in the transit system, or when the transit system becomes unreliable because the workers aren't safe every day when they go to work. I came out of a series of meetings today with members who run businesses downtown. I can tell you, despite the incredible vibrancy to this city, despite the fact that every one of them wants to continue to do business in this community, it's awful frustrating when you have to take on the personal expense or private expense of a security system because of the volume of incidents they see when it comes to shoplifting or vandalism in our communities. Talk to first responders who are tasked with keeping our community safe, and ask them what it's like to try to keep others safe when they're worried for their own safety as they're trying to do the job. We can implement changes to our laws that are designed to protect the victims of crime, but also deliver better public safety outcomes more broadly. The bill that we have put forward has gained the support of a significant number of other parties. Every single provincial government in Canada has endorsed and called upon the government to expeditiously adopt this bill. We have heard from every policing organization across Canada who have offered their support for this bill as well. And we have heard from municipal representatives and first responders right across Canada who have demanded that this bill become law. One of the reasons that you're seeing such an extraordinary level of support behind this particular law is we didn't develop this behind closed doors on Parliament Hill. We actually went out and took feedback from the people who live closest to the systems that we're trying to change and the problems that we're trying to solve. The voices of police, of provincial governments, of cities, of first responders and transit operators are found within the text of this bill. I want to take a moment to say thank you to every single person who took a meeting, who took a phone call, who made a suggestion as to how we can strengthen Canada's criminal laws. Now, it's not lost on me that there is no one criminal law that will immediately cure every public safety challenge we face in this country. Over the next number of months and years, we're going to be relying on our partners, particularly partners with provincial governments who have the responsibility to administer the justice system, and to municipal partners who have a lot to say when it comes to putting resources in place to promote public safety. But by working together, as we did to come toward the adoption and passage into law of the Bail and Sentencing Reform Act, I have all the faith in the world that we're going to be able to deliver better safety outcomes for Canadians in the communities that they love and call home. Merci tout le monde. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Minister. I'd now like to invite Paul MacKinnon to the podium, who is here playing a bit of double duty today. Paul is the CEO of the Downtown Halifax Business Commission, and he also serves as the chair of the International Downtown Association Canada. Insight from small business owners across the country were instrumental in preparing legislation, as Minister Fraser said, so we're really grateful to have Paul with us today to share his perspective. Paul?
Right in the middle, I guess. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm honored to be here today. Mr. Fraser, welcome back to Halifax in your home province, your favorite downtown, I'm sure. It's good to be joined here by other colleagues as well, both representing the municipal government and the federal government. So my name is Paul MacKinnon. I am the CEO of Downtown Halifax Business Commission. I also serve as the chair of the International Downtown Association of Canada. We represent hundreds of downtowns and main streets across Canada. For years, IDA Canada has advocated for meaningful action to address the serious and growing public safety challenges facing downtowns and main streets right across the country. As a national coalition, our members report many of the same concerns that we heard here today from our business owners in Halifax. The public safety challenges are affecting local businesses, they're affecting residents, they're affecting workers, and they're impacting the public perceptions that everyone has about their local downtowns and main street areas, which should be places that everyone feels safe and feels welcome. As an organization dedicated to serving downtown business communities, the reality of this issue has real impacts. Public safety determines whether a family chooses to visit a main street or downtown. It impacts whether a worker feels comfortable commuting to the downtown for work, or if a small business can keep its doors open. These sorts of decisions, when placed together, determine if these areas are able to attract the foot traffic, tourism, and investment that they need to continue to thrive and grow. With the passage of Bill C-14, the federal government has taken a major step towards improving the safety and security of the local businesses, residents, and workers who bring life, energy, and opportunity to our main streets and downtowns. Canada's downtown community firmly believes that this legislation is foundational to creating the conditions our districts need to remain safe and vibrant and welcoming places. As vitally important areas to Canada's cultural and economic life, making these spaces safer goes beyond improving public safety outcomes. It is in fact a necessary catalyst for attracting the tourism, investment, and community engagement these places need to grow and develop. So on behalf of all of the local business associations and IDA Canada, I want to thank Minister Fraser and his team for their engagement, their openness, and their willingness to listen to the concerns of Canada's business community and involving us right from the beginning in their stakeholder engagement. So we're looking forward, we're excited to continue to work with both Minister Fraser and with other leaders in the federal government towards the continued action that is needed to ensure Canada's downtowns remain safe, vibrant, and essential places for economic growth, culture, and community life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, and I agree with you that Halifax has the best downtown vibes in Canada, for sure. I'm looking forward to joining you and many Halifax small business owners later today at your annual general meeting. Now, as Minister Fraser noted in his remarks, Bill C-14 also adds aggravating factors for offences committed against public transit workers, something that we have seen an increase here locally, as I mentioned before. So to speak more on this, please welcome Marco D'Angelo, the President and CEO of the Canadian Urban Transit Association. Marco, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Minister Fraser, colleagues, and friends. On behalf of the Canadian Urban Transit Association, thank you, Minister. Thank you to the federal government for your leadership in bringing C-14 forward and seeing it through to royal assent. And it's fitting that we're celebrating this milestone right here in Halifax, where every day Halifax transit workers keep the region connected by operating buses and ferries, maintaining vehicles and infrastructure, support passengers in our terminals and across the system, responding to incidences and making sure people across HRM can get where they need to go. They help students get to class, workers get to their jobs, seniors to get to appointments, and also down here in this vibrant downtown that we're happy to be speaking to you today from. And public transit is an essential public service, and it depends on the people who deliver it every day. And that is why the passage of Bill C-14 matters. For too long, there was a gap in the criminal code where existing protections recognize the risks faced by transit operators, but did not fully reflect the broad workforce that keeps transit systems running in every part of Canada. So the amendment to Section 269 of the Criminal Code, by extending stronger legal protection to all transit workers, is really an important step for safety, not only here in Halifax, but across Canada. Transit workers should never have to accept violence or harassment or intimidation as part of their job. They deserve to know that their safety is recognized in the law and the work that they do on behalf of the public is respected and is protected. CUTE has long advocated for this change alongside of our transit systems in every part of the country, labor partners, as well as people who use our transit facilities every day in every part of Canada. So we're grateful to the Government of Canada, to the leadership of Minister Fraser for listening to our sector and taking the meaningful action that I'm happy to be here today to talk about. And of course, legislation is part of the work ahead.
nature and sharing without their consent. The practice needs to end, and as a result of this bill, is going to become illegal.
And Minister, she believes also that there needs to be criminalization of the creation of deepfakes, not just the sharing or distribution. Is that something that Canada is willing to do?
I'd be willing to consider further amendments. We designed the provision to mirror the existing provisions that existed within the code. One of the unique challenges about the use of AI deepfakes is the concept of creation can become difficult from the concept of actually sharing or distributing. Of course, when you actually look at how an AI bot operates, this is not an individual who's creating something by their own hand in the privacy of their own home, which would still be inappropriate in my view. But when you're using someone else's technology, it is in some ways shared by its very definition, at minimum, with those who have access to the system that was used to create the image. I expect that we will learn more as to how we can combat this scourge of gender-based violence and taking advantage of people's likeness in AI deepfakes. But as the technology evolves, as new ideas come to the fore, we'll continue to consider how we can improve the law to better protect the victims of these just horrible crimes.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Angela Capobianco. I'm with Global News Halifax. So I know theft in downtown Halifax, or at least in the Spring Garden area, from 2023 to 2025 has gone up 61%. I guess how exactly will the details of this announcement help support businesses and combat local, theft impacting local businesses?
Well, look, first of all, and I might invite Paul to supplement this answer, listen to the frustration of business owners who have seen the same people vandalize their shops, take goods from their store without paying, committing theft, being apprehended in some instances by police, and being released the same day to reoffend, damage a neighboring store, or even come back to the same premises. That's not a reasonable position to take, that business owners should simply suck it up and deal with the consequences of these kind of crimes, which is making their business uneconomic and scaring customers away from downtown business. Are probably part of a larger national story where we've seen this kind of repeat offender continue to commit crimes with impunity. The changes in the bill will have an individual crime, but the number of crimes that a person has a history of committing over the course of the past number of years, by factoring in the criminal history of the person before the court more effectively, we're less and less often going to see someone released time and time again after continuing to do such harm to businesses in a downtown area. Separately, outside of the bail system, when a person's actually been convicted, we're asking the court to consider it as an aggravating circumstance. That means that they have to consider a harder sentence upon the person to recognize that the harm come downtown. These changes are going to have a positive impact by reducing the prevalence of repeat offenders and by communicating very clearly before a crime is committed that the consequences will be serious in the first place. Would you like Paul? We've somebody representing the business community if you want his perspective on it.
Sure. Paul, something to add? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think you covered most of it. And we heard today, again, and we've been hearing for years, and some of my colleagues from other districts are here as well in commercial downtowns and main streets. I mean, we hear the frustration. So I think the general narrative sometimes is, well, you know, the occasional person shoplifting, that's kind of a victimless crime. But what we're hearing from the businesses is that in a lot of cases, they are repeat offenders. And in a lot of cases, what they're stealing is actually worth quite a bit of money, which increases security costs, or, you know, it causes, you know, incredible staff turnover. Business owners' perspective, what they're seeing is someone coming in, you know, stealing something from their store, and then they're back out in the street, and they're coming back in the store and stealing something else the next week, and they realize the system is broken. They don't know whether that's the police's fault, the court's fault, the way the laws are written. So, with this bill, our sense is that the federal government is stepping up to do their part. It needs to be followed up with the provincial court system, with the actual coordination, and hopefully you will see a major difference on the ground with those businesses. It's a small percentage of people that are committing these crimes, but it's the repeat.
HRM's Housing and Homelessness director on the issue of safety and retail theft and the like. And he said, while with law enforcement should go hand in hand, harm reduction, supports for cost of living, mental health, and that sort of thing. I guess what is being done to sort of look at harm reduction on top of what is being announced today?
Sure. So from the business community's perspective, one individual social worker who actually works with street involved individuals and really tries to do an assessment about why is someone on the street? Is it because of addiction issues or a lot of that kind of work? What we find in downtowns, especially is it's the manifestation of a lot of the issues that we're having. So drug addictions also often find themselves in downtowns, mental health issues, crime. Issues of transit. It all kind of manifests itself in the downtown core, the cabinet. So we talked about these broader issues. One is around Bill C-14, and part of the message we have is that these things need to be tackled together, and we're feeling much more confident that the federal government is doing that.
Do you mind if we're sick that need treatment? And it's important that we understand time we're moving forward. With the warranties. I mentioned during my remarks, those upstream investments include things like the creation of Build Canada Homes, a dedicated agency to build affordable and social housing for low income and at-risk transfer, with dedicated funding towards mental health and addiction. Because we see better outcomes for themselves in the communities that they call home. Youth, who we know are more likely to be pulled into a criminal lifestyle, and if we intervene with supports early on, community, you can't pick and choose. Amongst the different pillars of the strategy. We have to have stronger criminal laws. We have to support those on the front now. But when you embrace all the different aspects, we do expect, and in fact are starting to see in Canada, an improvement in the trend when it comes to the rate of crime that we're seeing right across this country.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Minister, question for you. Daniel Fraser, Nova Scotia.
I noticed the shirt.
Oh, did you? Oh, points for you.
I got a kilt that looks like that.
Oh, yeah. With the new contract likely bringing thousands of jobs to Halifax, is there a plan to invest in Halifax's transportation?
Look, there's a lot to unpack during a very brief question. Look, I don't want to project on what announcement will be made very soon, but obviously anytime there's a major investment in the Canadian Armed Forces and submarines and ships or I don't know at risk of going beyond the scope of your question, Atlantic Canada's got about 6.5% of Canada's population. We have almost 20% of the jobs in the aerospace and defense sector. So by virtue of increasing the spend in defense, cities like Halifax stand to gain as much or more than any other place. This is going to put pressures on communities when you look at the absorptive capacity of vibrant and growing cities to welcome the skilled trades, the talent, the military personnel who are going to be engaged on these various projects. We work very closely through Infrastructure Canada with HRM to help meet the needs of their transit system. We put multi-billion-dollar programs in place to deal not only with transit, but also with water, wastewater, with support for housing, to make sure that as the cities grow, to take advantage of the opportunities that will help promote Canada's ability to contribute solutions to global peace and security. We actually have the means to ensure.
Speaking of ferries, the city needs millions of dollars of unbudgeted ferry repairs for infrastructure, and I was wondering if the federal government would ever step
have a range of eligible expenses, but once you determine eligibility, we leave it to local orders of government to determine more broadly, but sitting in Ottawa, you don't necessarily see firsthand the details on what needs to be invested in when it comes to municipal.
Is seeking every opportunity to partner with other levels of government in order to effect change within the transit system. And that will wind up including some of the solutions that we're looking towards in order to keep the fleet that we've got. This bill is that it's a means to address from Halifax Transit, and the reason that address the congestion that we're experiencing in the municipality, we have to be able to attract new operators as well. And they're not going to be inclined to join the Halifax Transit team if we don't have a really solid solution to provide them with an environment that's safe for them to work in. So on every front, the municipality is going to work with our partners at other levels of government and with our own leadership teams to try to find solutions so that we can attract the right people to bring into the municipality and to occupy those key positions. And that is the one and only way that we're going to be able to make some movement on the congestion that we're experiencing in a growing municipality like Halifax.
What role can businesses expect local police to play in order to see this bill through? I asked because speaking with businesses, they said that they've been asking police to step.
I heard people saying that the individual officers don't have their support. I think systemically. There are questions about appropriate levels of resourcing, and to say thank you to the work that law enforcement does. It has been an exceptionally difficult few weeks for the policing community in Canada. We have seen 3 officers killed in the line of duty. And to those who is a different question than the commitment of individual officers to public safety. What we see in cities that embrace more boots on the ground is positive outcomes when it comes to going to be caught, apprehended. Cities across Canada that have ramped